Congratulations! Your Wandering Starhulk ruler Brandt evolved into a Wandering Starhulk deity Brandt Ringer. Let's talk about that.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hello card fighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today we've got another reveal for the upcoming extra booster, Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction. And we're gonna keep rolling with these Cardfight updates in the upcoming days, as we still have a lot to uncover, as there are a lot of sets coming out in these upcoming months, as we've got the premium collections, the revival collection is coming out right now, we've got the Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction, as well as the Heroic Evolution extra booster that's also coming out these upcoming weeks. So there is a lot that still is going on. And today, Bushiroad decided to reveal the last VR for the Light of Salvation and Logic of Destruction set, and that is none other than Brandt Ringer. The one that a lot of people were hyped about and were excited to see what this was gonna do. And now we finally know. But to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned and disappointed in what the card does, as I was hoping it does something a little bit different, but we'll get there in a second, as let's talk about the card in general. So its official name, Wandering Starhulk Deity Brandt Ringer. As you can see, it's a grade 4, and it has a force marker, and its skill is act on Vanguard Circle, counterblast 1, until the end of your opponent's turn, change the below effects for your opponent's trigger effects. Other than power increase 2, critical, your Vanguard gets critical -1 until the end of the battle. Heal, deal 1 damage to your Vanguard. Draw, discard a card from your hand. And change the power increase for front triggers to the back row. So let's dissect this a little bit so everybody understands and we're on the same page on this one. It basically, for a counterblast, you can change the trigger effects. The power stays the same, so crit, heal and draw trigger still gives away 10k. But a crit trigger, instead of it now gives a critical +1 to any unit on the field, it will automatically reduce the critical of your Vanguard by 1. So if it didn't have any extra criticals, it will turn into 0. Could be -1, but that will do anything besides the point. So your Vanguard will do no damage. If you get a heal, you immediately need to deal with damage to your own Vanguard. So that can basically mean that you kill yourself in your own attack. And as I asked this question in the previous Brandt card that was revealed with a similar skill, yes, you will die first. If you deal your own damage, even though it was your own attack, you will die first. So watch out with that one. Now, it also affects the draw effect. So instead, you will draw an extra card from a draw trigger. You need to discard a card. So you will basically minus a card when you get a draw trigger, so you don't want to hit that one. And front triggers, instead of the front row gets power, it's now the back row that gains power. So your Excel markers will not benefit from it, because those are front row circles still. So only the one behind your Vanguard and behind your left and right column will gain power. So first off, we already know about the critical and the heal, as we discussed it with the Brandt card, with the original Brandt card, how that impact. Now with draw triggers, this is going to be a little bit disgusting, to be honest, as a lot of people now play the draw PG card. And the draw trigger allows you to have a discard fodder for your perfect guard, as seen as it's in the same card as your draw trigger. Now with getting draw triggers in the mix that now discard a card, you might be screwed, as you are now actively mining. So there is a difference of -2, as you usually go +1 on that card, but now you go -1. So there's a difference of -2 cards in total card economy for your opponent, and that's pretty big. Now also with the front triggers, a lot of people say, well, the front trigger is the least that is impactful in this sense, as it is just you still gain the power, but it's now to the back row, so your 3 attacks, your 3 center line attacks still gain a benefit from it. But I like to counter argument that is actually pretty damn bad for most Excel decks, as a lot of Excel decks cannot basically fill their back row as efficient as other decks. So they rely on their Excel marker circles so they can generate a lot of pushing power, or they just have rear guards in the front row of the normal columns, but no boosters. It's very rarely for some Excel clans to fill their entire field. So that's one thing. But the major thing is that this effect, just like the original Brandt, is active for basically 2 turns. It's during your turn and during your opponent's turn. So that means that defensive front triggers usually protect your front row, and your Vanguard still gains the power, as with every other trigger, the critical, the heal, and the draw, you still can give away the 10k. So you can still give your Vanguard plus 10k, so you have still the defensive value from it. If you run front triggers, you don't have any defensive value from it anywhere near during your opponent's turn when he's attacking you, as the power distribution goes to the back row immediately, so your Vanguard doesn't gain plus 10k, and the same as your Interceptors and your Grade 2s, they are still vulnerable. So that's a big impact on this card that makes front triggers a little bit tricky in this sense. But overall, it's a solid card. It won't be useful in premium as seen as a Grade 4 with an act ability, so it's really counterintuitive to what you want to do with your strides, as you cannot go into your stride turn when you ride this thing and you want to use its skill. So luckily they didn't give an auto skill, as it makes sense. This would be too busted in some scenarios if you could do all your stride shenanigans as well have this reverse trigger effect on top of everything. It would be a little bit too much in my honest opinion. But what I'm saddened about the fact is that this card is basically, as I stated as the joke on the intro, it's an evolved form of Brandt, the Grade 3. It's in all regards better than him. It's a counterblast instead of a counterblast soul blast. It's on the top of a higher body, and it's even affecting more triggers. It's doing exactly the same thing as the Grade 3 does, but more for less. And that concerns me, as in some case you could say, well, why should you run the Grade 3? What's the point? And there are some points to still run that one, as if you want to run the full archetype, you want to have as many Starhulks in your deck as you had that Grade 2 that gains more power from it, and also the Grade 1 that can search out some cards with the name. So you want to run the Grade 3 and the Grade 4. But there probably is going to come a point where there is no reason to run the Grade 3 anymore, as seen as this Grade 4 is in every single way better. However, there is one big discrepancy with this card, and that's the fact that it is a Grade 4. The upside to Brandt himself is that because it's a Grade 3, you can go into him and go into something else and go back to him with every kind of Grade 3 that you want. But the moment you go into this thing, you can only rewrite Ringer on top of himself to gain more force markers. You cannot rewrite into anything else. Your Grade 3 basically becomes dead cards unless you call them to Rigger Circle or use them for Perfect Guard fodder, but that's about it, ends right there unless you have Rearguard Grade 3s, but the Starhulk series don't have that yet. In that sense, it has its flaws in those regards, and that makes this card a little bit more balanced. Just like Brandt, the main issue with this card is it does literally nothing. It doesn't gain power, it doesn't put up pressure, it all relies on your opponent to get a trigger. In some cases, to get some benefit from them. And in some cases, even though I stated that front triggers are a little bit worse in the sense that you don't have the defensive value, if you do not need a defensive value in some turns, maybe he attacks only for one attack, or the 10k doesn't force you to guard even more because you already was forced to guard with a certain trigger because you want to keep your key piece in hand. In those scenarios, then this card does absolutely nothing. So keep that in mind. These are still interesting cards, and with the support cards, it could be a very threatening deck. But also keep in mind, it still relies on RNG. You cannot basically tag it in any kind of deck and just hope for the trigger effect kills your opponent. You need to run the support cards to make some more get some more value out of them, and that makes it a very interesting archetype. As I stated before, I'm very curious on how this is going to work and how we can make different strategies, and I'm probably going to do that in the upcoming days and weekends, as the set will be released this week. So, and we basically already know about everything that's in the set. Another interesting thing to note, now that this last VR is revealed and we basically know about all the high rarity cards in the set and what every clan is going to get, there is only one thing that was very highlighted, and that's the fact that we are missing a Blaster card, as we're not getting Blaster Sword, as a lot of people, myself included, were expecting to get. Now that we don't have that, the Blaster deck might be a little bit too inconsistent, but we have to wait and see how that's going to impact the overall game plan and see if the deck is viable enough. It's still going to be a very fun tactic to play, But we have to wait to see how consistent it is. And maybe we get Blaster Sword in a future support wave. We just have to wait and see. But that's basically it for today, all about Brandt Ringer. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this card. If you're excited for the upcoming Starhulk series, or just the whole Light of Salvation, Logic of Destruction set with the new Nova Grappler support that looks very interesting. The new Overlord stuff, the new Blaster deck, as well as the Starhulk, as I think I already said one. So let me know in the comments down what you guys think. But also, always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters over at Patreon, Priest and John Edmondson, for supporting this channel and allowing me to do basically what you've been seeing all weeks, months. And if you also want to support and get some extra goodies out of it, then go to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and start becoming a Patreon today. But that's all for me today. I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I'll see you guys in the next one.